I believe that people are waking up around the world. People that were once thought of or considered sheep are turning into lions. And I'm very excited about that. But the one thing that scares me more than anything, and when we're talking about cycles, being emotional, is the lack of patience. And that's the one thing. Here we're at VRIC talking about the commodity space. To say that the commodity space has been lackluster or boring in the last 10 years is an understatement. However, I see the positive side in it. I see an over $1,900 gold price. I see silver sitting right nicely above 20, and I'm seeing inflation exploding. And just like construction, new construction is a lagging indicator to the health of a real estate market, so too is the price of gold in comparison to inflation. And again, we're about to see that emotional turn. Like when I was talking about eggs, and get ready, buy some eggs because they're gonna go up in price. And people don't understand the difference between a shortage and being missing or void of one item. That never, ever, ever happens. Supply and demand shows you that there'll always be a gallon of diesel, there'll always be a carton of eggs, but at what price? So I wanna encourage you to work on your patience. All right, let's start this thing. We're here to talk about real estate. It's really exciting that when I got you guys to show your hands on how many people want to buy real estate, almost everybody raised their hand. But compared to how many people have ever owned a piece of real estate, totally different story, right? But again, the amount of people that raise their hand that have ever owned one home ever, and the people that have owned rentals was almost identical. Now, I'm not the smartest bulb in the box, did not pass high school, but what I had was a lot of encouragement. One from the gentleman that's about to sit down right here, Mr. Kiyosaki. Read that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, completely changed my life. If you guys haven't read it, jump on it. I got to meet him in 2004. He changed my life because he encouraged me to become an accredited investor. He doesn't really remember the conversation, but it really did happen. I was at an event like this in San Francisco. That was it, one encounter. I tell people wherever I go around the country, the most important thing you can be doing today is meeting other people like yourself. And I'm not joking. To say that all of you have something in common right now, it's not the economic ninja. It's your heart. This group of people that are showing up right now are the people you need to meet. You need to be changing phone numbers, emails, and get to know people. Why? For the number one reason that you are not alone. This world is full of people that are a little confused, let's say. And the stronger you are for yourself, your community, your country, and then the world, the better we're gonna be getting through this crisis. But it is gonna be a crisis, and there is no stopping it. So I get super pumped and excited to take advantage of it. So, how do we get through this crisis? Well, first off, we have a currency crisis. Gold is the answer. I do not believe that gold's ever gonna be used for barter. I don't think that central banks are gonna wanna back things. They're eventually gonna be forced, some will be forced, but that's not gonna be the case. There's just not enough of it. But like I said, with scarcity, things that are going in shortage, there's always gonna be enough at the right price. So that's why I hedge with gold, all right? First and foremost. The other thing is being able to understand the cycles of real estate and what we're in right now. Anyone that thinks that the Fed is going to pivot right away just doesn't understand modern monetary policy with the Fed interest rates. As they rise, they do a pause. The shortest pause that I'd ever seen was around 2018 when Donald Trump came out and railed against the Federal Reserve because they were raising their Fed funds rate and it was starting to stall the economy. And it took about 6 to 8 weeks, if memory serves me right, and then they started to dip down. But any time before that, the Fed would hold those rates high. And that's that squeeze. There's a reason why credit card debt is at an all-time high. There's a reason why auto loans are at an all-time high. It's not just because people are being squeezed, people are greedy. They want to impress people they don't even like. If we can walk away from that and gain patience, you will literally become the greatest investors ever. Those two keys. All we're doing is we're playing on the emotions of human beings. So first and foremost for me, it's gold. But I do not own all gold. I still have cash. Why? Because of deflationary spikes led by fear in all kinds of different asset classes. Another thing that I want to impress upon is there are gold bugs and silver bugs in this room that will hold forever. I think that's insane. Why? because gold hit an all-time high, in the 80s? It came down, then it went and hit an all-time high, 2010, if memory serves me right, 2011. And it's going to do it again, but then it's going to come off those highs. And if you take the correlation between the highs in gold, which usually are around the lows in a cycle in real estate, and you move in and out of these cycles, you're going to make a lot of money. The one mistake I did, I sold all my real estate, and I didn't have a lot. I had 14 properties. In 2006, saw the crash coming because it was actually crashing. Mortgage-backed securities were in a lot of trouble. Smart people were exiting, so I started to exit. What I didn't do right is I didn't dive in 2010 because my wife didn't really want to get into it, right? And my real estate course, I'm going to actually do a counseling session. You're going to get all your money back and save divorce lawyers right now, because that's a huge dynamic. And that's something that so many people in this room face. You're excited, you want to charge, you're like a racehorse, but there's someone holding you back. Sometimes that's yourself, sometimes that's a spouse, sometimes it's a family member. One way to get away from that, when I was talking with Mrs. Ninja, she was against gold and silver forever. I showed her Mike Maloney's Hidden Secrets of Money. By show of hands, who's seen that? Yeah, okay, well, just like Robert's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that will change your perception on how money, where it comes from, what it is, and how it should be used. Both real money and fake money. Show your spouse that movie, the series. It's absolutely amazing. I cannot get over how much information is in that series. But another thing that people trip out about is how much time we have. Like I said earlier, new construction is a lagging indicator to the strength of an economy, the real estate market, because it literally takes so long for a contractor, and I've owned a construction company, it takes a long time for us to get off of our butts and go, well, it looks like all the real estate's going up, I should go and identify a piece of property, and then I'll go and source the money, then I'm gonna go and make the plans, get the permits, and then it's weird because by the top, all the other contractors are doing it, and that's when we're busting. And we're already seeing that bust. We're seeing Lennar and Toll Brothers and others a 10% cut in prices is significant. And this one's happening a lot faster than what happened in 2006, 2007. And ironically, people would tell you, if you asked when was the housing crisis, when did everything come crashing down, they said 2008. It's not it. It was 2005 to 2006. But it took so long. It took so long to get people out of their homes and literally bribe them with cash for keys, where you had to sign a document that said, I give up, I relinquish the right to my house for this dollar amount. I still, to this day, do not know one sheriff, I ask them all the time, that ever forcibly evicted someone for a bank because they gave away their rights to their homes. We're gonna have something even bigger than that, but it's gonna take a long time, and that should give you guys encouragement and get you excited. Why? Because you have lots of time to prepare. Now that doesn't mean that you should sit on your butt. It means that every day that you put another dollar in your bank, either through tax savings, and that's something that everyone in this room should be studying right now, how to legally pay less tax, because a penny saved is a penny earned. But every day, and it's funny because people tell me all the time, the firefighters I work with, you've been saying this for 10 years. I'm like, yeah, and in 10 years, I've amassed a little fortune because I don't want 10 homes. I want 100 or 200. As a matter of fact, Robert, you told a story once about people that would tell you about these great deals, and you would ask him, well, did you do it? No, I didn't do it. And at a certain point, he got frustrated. He's like, get out of my way and let me do it. And I never forgot that because I want all the deals. Well, how do I get all the deals now? Through you. And it's not because it's gonna make me any money. It's because, now think about this. For years, how many people feel that there are people in positions of authority that get privilege because of that authority, monetarily? Who here, anybody? All right, I think of Congress every time I say that. We have been watching large corporations buy up homes to make rentals and charge exorbitant rates, and they've been using your pension funds. And I think that's disgusting. What would be the greatest thing that we could ever accomplish during this crisis? I think it's for good-hearted human beings around the world to buy up the real estate faster than the banks can. So you guys don't remember when I was talking about how BlackRock and Blackstone were gonna go under and everybody was making fun of me a couple years ago? And now we're already starting to see those cracks forming, right? What happens during a stock market collapse? There's less funding. There's less people putting into their 401ks or TSP accounts, things like that. they're actually going to be less funding. And if you guys are ready, and when I mean ready, I mean you're out of debt or close to it, you have a solid credit score, and you don't need a ton of understanding and knowledge at first. At some times, you just have to jump. But when I see you jump, if you jump smart, you buy a small place like a condominium or an apartment, something that is less than you're paying right now, and you have a good balance or an emergency fund in your bank account, you can make it happen. Then we talk about the first rental. Then we talk about the second. And once you do one or two, you're gonna do 10. But as long as you have that emergency fund, everyone I know that got into real estate before the last crisis failed because they did not have a big enough emergency account. They leveraged themselves to the 10, and then they really started going crazy with these ninja loans. That is something I don't want anyone a part of during this next one. If you're a good human being, and now you are a landlord, hopefully you will be a good landlord. Hopefully you will take the information that you get from me or anyone else out on the internet, and you will try and change their lives. Because like I said, I get emotional all the time. The only reason this channel is successful is because of you and because I just hit record one day and then I didn't stop showing up. And if I can encourage every single one of you guys to do something similar to me, just literally go and try and help someone. I'm not kidding. Call me a romantic or whatever. Maybe I watch too many Hallmark movies. But I'm telling you, we could destroy it in a good way. There are way too many people, in my opinion, that put money into their 401k and hope on a little fairy called the stock market that it's going to be in a good position when they go to retire. Last year at my fire department, I watched our retirement accounts drop 20 to 25%. I warned all the guys about it. There are guys literally that cannot retire right now because they hoped that it was going to be worth over 7 figures. Now it's not. Even if it's enough right now, the mental block, again, emotions, is keeping them at their work. There are so many guys that can't even figure out, they have side hustles and they cannot figure out they're working and slaving at their job for an extra, let's say 5%, an extra $5,000 a year for their 401k, or each year, they're gonna get it. But they have a side hustle that's making $40,000, and if they just quit their job, their side hustle will probably turn into $80,000. But they're gonna break their back, their mind, and their heart for an additional 5%. We've been enslaved, and we've been enslaved through debt. Now, I'm all for using debt. But the problem is many people don't teach how to use debt in its proper form, and that's with legal entities that would protect you if something goes wrong. That's important. It's a whole process to be able to get to the point to be able to use a legal entity to actually be able to get debt, right? That's why it's important when we talk about getting out of debt for your family. Let's say you own a home, but you own your vehicle, and you get that into its proper entity, like a trust, something that people can't penetrate. Then you move into your side hustle, you start a business, you start to build credit that way. I want people protected, but the problem is most people don't hear those lessons because out of all the real estate investors out there, a lot of them still own it in their personal name. There's a lot of ways for attacks to come. And so I thought, how do I put you in the best position possible? Well, it's the most unsexy thing you can do, and that's be out of debt. However, the additional brain power that you're going to have from not having stress is going to be immense. And I honestly think that that is the way going forward. Now, we're going to see this crash take hold. The Fed's going to start to taper, 25 basis points probably over the next couple times, and then they're going to pause. They've given you all the warnings. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be painful. It's not going to be popular. Literally keywords that are coming out of Fed governors talking about they need even higher rates. We all know that the inflation rate, who here thinks the inflation rate's really, 6%? By show of hands? No bold people? Cool. We're in the same group. That means they're going to have to go even higher eventually. But they know they're breaking the back, and they know the East and the West are splitting up. They're getting a divorce. Deglobalization. I literally had to Google it. I didn't know what it meant. This is real. And a lot of people get scared, and I get pumped. This is going to put you on a level playing field for the first time ever. When I first invested in real estate, I did it right after the dot-com crash. I'd sold my dot-com stocks. I still took a header on a couple of them, but I saw greed, emotions. As the Fed started aggressively lowering the Fed funds rate in the early 2000s, I started buying real estate because I knew that the American public would get greedy. and they'd want to sell their house and be able to afford the house down the street that's a little bit more impressive, only getting them in bondage harder with debt. I knew when it was easy to sell was when the Fed started raising rates, but not at that point. You wait for the Fed to start squeezing the public, and it's a multi-year process. When the dot plot plan came out, what was it, in 2004, 2005, something like that? When they raised those rates and we saw mortgages come back over 6.25%, 7% for a 30-year fixed on a primary residence, that was when the consumer was tapped out, because you had those mortgage rates so high, coupled with the rate of rise of the properties themselves, they couldn't afford it. And then you saw velocity collapse in sales. Now that velocity actually collapsed, not this last June, but the June before that. And that was when I called the top of the market. Now everybody says, "No, Ninja, you're wrong because you're looking at the price." I'm like, "Yeah, you're emotional. Price means nothing. Price means nothing. That's a blow off top. Those are the fools. That's dumb money that's moving into real estate. Those are the people that literally lost in the last one, and they say the exact same thing over and over. There's nothing new under the sun. They say, if I don't buy now, I'll never be able to afford a house." And I say, stop listening to your real estate agent. I'm not even kidding. I'm the worst real estate agent ever. As a matter of fact, true story. The only reason I'm a real estate agent is because I own 2 real estate brokerages. I found out I could do that without being an agent. And I was negotiating a $35 million property. We took off quick because we were selling farmland to pension funds. It's doing it anyway. So I showed farmers how they could keep control of their farms and write contracts and sell off their property, but then keep the control of the farm. And we had some really neat negotiations, but I found out I couldn't negotiate those properties because I wasn't a licensed agent, so I had to go challenge the test. But I could never be a residential agent. I tried. But even as real estate was going up, I know the reality. So few people have the ability and the desire to move in and move right out of a piece of property if they read the tea leaves and things are going bad. So I couldn't sell anybody a property knowing that we're at rock bottom interest rates, inflation's ticking up, and they're gonna start raising rates, even though it's a multi-year process. But most people don't have what it takes to pull the trigger. Why? Because they're afraid. They're afraid, what if I'm wrong? I sold my house in 2018, my last piece of real estate. And I bought Bitcoin, I think it was at $3,200. It was July of 2018. And I bought silver, I think it was at $14, $15. I still to this day get made fun of by my colleagues, the other real estate agents, because I missed that extra, 25% in housing. How do you guys think I'm doing? And this isn't me being cocky, it's just the truth. A lot of people mistake people that are confident because they have the truth, because they have experience. And my experience came from screwing up. It's not being cocky. When we talk about overcoming emotions, having more patience, and getting ready for this right now, the most important thing you can do is change your social circle. What is it Dan Pena says, show me your 5 friends, I'll show you your future? 100% true. You have to change your social circle. There's 2 different types of people that you need to change with. Like-minded people that's in this room. You need to start getting around them. How many people have been trying to warn their family and friends and not getting any success? Cool, yeah, they don't even listen to me. I'm no different than you. So that's one type of person you want to be around, someone that's like-minded, but you don't want to be in an echo chamber. Number 2, the next type of person you want to be around is the type of person that is already 10xing you. Why? Because you want to be sucked into their wake, but it takes a lot of work. I've tried to help a lot of people on this YouTube thing. Some of it's come back to bite me. Why? Because there are some people that you will help that only want to be helped. They're takers. And then when you move over to the next person, because a real giver, someone that really wants to change this world, doesn't want to help just one person. They want to help 20, they want to help 50, maybe even 100. The takers don't understand that. Do not let that get you down. See, along with taking advantage and understanding market cycles, understanding human emotion, people are going to go nutty. If the last 3 years hasn't taught you anything about human emotion and who you should be hanging out with, I don't know what to tell you. But I get excited. This should get you guys excited. The other thing, I got to be honest with you. You saw me start crying earlier. I wear my emotions on my sleeve. Not a lot of people understand how important that is these days. We got a lot of fake people running around. And the only thing I want to do, and this is again why you listen, is I want to be an example to you. I do it all the time. As a matter of fact, I got my buddy Chris Taylor with me, financial prepper. Who watches that guy? Great guy. He's my accountability partner on all these trips. He comes with me, keep me straight and keep me solid. Because the last thing I want to do is ever show you a side of me that wouldn't be good. Does that make sense? I want to encourage you that every single one of you have the authority and power to change this world and to change your finances. All you have to do is start saying it out loud. Sometimes you say it quietly, and pick your words around the right people, because one of the worst things I ever did was listen to people like my father or listen to my coworkers. And they spoke over me, and I doubted myself. I don't want that for any of you guys. Keep your positivity. Keep seeking out answers. Seek out other human beings. They might not be the best looking. They might not have the best vocabulary. I fit those. But all I did was I tried. I want to take a couple of questions.
Hey man, thanks for doing this. My question for you is, what do you see as the risk of central bank digital currencies to everything that's come down the pipe? Thanks.
Great question. You guys know I'm a crypto guy, but I haven't been talking about crypto for the last 6 years because I told you guys that crypto was going to start turning down, right? Now it's coming up, a little debt cap bounce in my opinion, because I think it's so leveraged to the stock market, it's insane through derivatives. Central bank digital currency is not decentralized. They might lie to you and tell you it's a blockchain. It's not. It's a method of control. How is the easiest way to get a central bank digital currency in and cash out? Well, it's called customer acquisition cost. And like what everybody saw when COVID happened and the shutdowns, everybody had a price, right? Hey, you get to stay home and you get a check. Pretty exciting. A lot of people were getting Louis Vuitton bags, just blew my mind. Some of the things people were buying that I knew were already in debt. Central bank digital currency, I'd love to tell you there's a way of fighting it, but it's coming. It's going to be very efficient for governments and central banks alike, even more so for central banks. The rollout I told you guys about, fednow.gov, right? July it starts. It's a slow process. It's like every cycle. Nobody pushes a new idea immediately. It takes a time. How many people own Bitcoin or any blockchain cryptocurrency in this room? Awesome. All right, cool. Out of those hands, who has it on an exchange right now? No, I'm not going to embarrass you. Who holds it off of an exchange? Thank you. And I don't mean to embarrass you in a bad way. It's education. Most of that Bitcoin on those exchanges doesn't exist. It's the reason why when you wire money into Coinbase and they let you buy the Bitcoin, you can't take it off immediately. There's signs everywhere. We literally have stock exchanges like Robinhood and Webull. I don't know if Webull's done it, but like literally the days they say, you know what, you can't buy that stock right now. It's a little too crazy. Oh, now you can't sell it now. Think about that. There's no freedom in crypto if you own it on an exchange. Anybody that held XRP, and you guys know I've been in XRP since it was 2 cents, and I was really into it. To watch what happened with Coinbase and people just lock up their funds. People like me could sell if I wanted to at a much higher price, and all those people were just robbed that money. It's disgusting. Central bank digital currency has a definite purpose. Social credit scores have a definite purpose. And I'd love to talk about all the crazy negative stuff about it, but let me talk about a solution. I told you that debt is the number one chain around your neck. If you're not in debt, and I'm talking about, like I said, business debt, leveraging money, it creates jobs and it builds wealth, especially in real estate. But I don't want people in a spot where they're begging for those handouts. I want you to take, when they do have an emergency, the next emergency, and there will be one, and they inject $1,000, $10,000, whatever it is in your wallets, as long as you just pull out your phone, download the app at the App Store, put in your social security number, your name, and you're going to get it in there. I want you to buy something real with it or get out of debt. That's what I'm trying to get people into. Because just like the book, The Wizard of Oz, there's a reason why the little man was hiding behind the green curtain, pulling the chains. It's telling me something. I got a couple minutes left. That thing's angry at me. How much time do I got? So central bank digital currencies are here, and they're coming, and cash is going to be slowly phased out, probably because it has germs on it. honestly. It's going to probably be it. Or the bad, money. What do they say about Bitcoin? It's used for illicit action. Yeah, they obviously don't know much about the US dollar. So let's talk about the positives. Getting out of debt, and when that comes, use it for an asset purchase. Does that make sense?